Hello, everybody. It's Evan, come to teach you about social media networking and how we can get rid of all the insults. You dumb bastard. I figured it'd be funny if I insulted you guys in the middle of a "Hey, don't be mean on the internet" article. Everyone, post a comment insulting me. Say something horrible about me. Dear Evan, you're not funny and you're bald. And also your Japanese sucks. Hey, go for it. All right, everyone. Oh, my nose. Here we go. We are talking about Safer Internet, and here's a link to their website, saferinternet.or.jp. And then I guess /English. There's an English button. You can just go boop, 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 boop. Okay, and then you can read all about the exciting how to make the website safe for hurt feelings. In this paragraph, one thing that we're going to see is the tardy form of verbs. And we're going to be seeing konotame, which isn't really that important, but it means for this reason. So I guess I kind of, I didn't bury the lead. I what do you call it when you just give away the point right away? Whatever. A spoiler. That's right. Spoiler. We got, and then we have an interesting, this is also the other one. We have verb yo ni imasu. Whenever you have a verb yo ni iu, it means you tell somebody to do something. So I guess I'm just going to tell you that right now. Okay, yeah, nothing too much more exciting about that. So you're all done. No, let's go ahead and read it. The association, kyokai, I can't highlight it when it. Kyokai ga shiraberu to, boom, that's a clause. The association ga shiraberu, this to is when, so when the association investigated shiraberu, upon their investigating, when they looked into it, shiraberu is to investigate, to look into. Kono naka no 44 ken wa, this kononaka means within these, like this kono is these, and they're talking about these 280 situations that we mentioned in the last video. So from these 280 no 44 ken, 44 incidents of the 280. So 44 of the incidents that we just talked about. Wa, that's the chief subject. This ga right here is actually not the important clause. Even though it came first, it's not that important. This is just saying when the association looked into it, 44 of these incidents, blah, 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 blah. All right, this is really interesting. Really quickly, I'm going to skip this part right here and just talk about the tari. So we have kaitari. So this kaku, this is once again, kaku in the plain past tense is kaku kaita. And then we just add ri, and it means they do this and they do other things. So some people kaitarid, and they also kaitari again over here. When you have a pair of tari verbs, you always end it in suru. And then what that does is it says they did stuff like this, or they did stuff like that. So there's that Zoidberg in Futurama where they go,
"Now ask her how her day was."
Why would I want to know?
You wouldn't. Ask anyway.
How was your day?
Well, first I got up and had a piece of toast. Then I brushed my teeth. Then I went to the store to buy some fish.
Fry, look what you did. She won't shut up.
That's normal. Just nod your head and say, uh-huh.
And then you threw an octopus at my window.
So when she goes on a ramble, I brushed my teeth. That's what this is. I brushed my teeth, and then I had a cup of coffee, and then I did blah, 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 blah. That's this tari form. And you end it with a suru. Shite imashita. So this is, they had done these things in the past. So the having done is done. If that makes sense. They had already done this. They had done this already. Okay, so anyway, let's talk about what those things are. Uso o kaitari shimashita. They had done things like uso o kaku. Now, it says kaita, but just think of it as kaku. They wrote lies. Uso is a lie, and kaku is to write. So they wrote lies, and they 誰の悪口かみんなにわかるように書いたり and they 嘘を書いたりしました. Okay, so I hope that my intonation gives you the English translation of this Japanese pattern. So what did they do? 誰の悪口がみんなわかるように書いたり and they 嘘を書いたりしていました. Okay, that sort of feeling of they did this and they did that and they did a bunch of other stuff as well. That's the tari suru. All right, so they wrote a bunch of insults, and this is the interesting thing. Dare no warukuchi ka. This is how you do a clause as a question, and this clause ends in a noun. Notice this sentence by itself, if it were a sentence, it would be Dare no warukuchi desu ka? Or because it's in the plain form, it's in the casual, the dictionary idea of it, because it's not actually a question, and it's part of the greater clause, which is Dare no warukuchi ka minna ni wakaru. And then we end it with yo ni kakaitari. Because Dare no warukuchi is just part of a small clause, we don't add a des, we don't put a da in there. There's no, there's no na, there's no nothing. They ain't not no nothing. We just go straight into the ka. Dare no warukuchi ka? Whose insult is it? Whose insult is it? Minna, everyone, ni wakaru. This ni is operating similarly to a ga particle. So, minna ga wakaru, everyone can know. Everyone knows. Everyone knows. However, this is a ni particle, so we need to address the fact that it's a ni. So just think of it as if this were minna wa dare no warukuchi desu ka? Wakarimasu. If you think of it as that sentence, that is what they're saying here. But it's part of a clause in a greater sentence. So basically, the sentence, this clause right here is basically Minasan wa dare no warukuchi ka? Wakarimasu. Everyone knows whose insult it is. That's what they're doing. However, what they're switching it a little bit. It's dare no warukuchi ka? Minna ni wakaru. Okay, so minna ni wakaru is basically saying it's known to them. It's known by them. Something like that. So everyone whose insult it is understood by everyone, if that makes sense. It's understood by everyone. And once again, we see ni translating to something along the lines of the English by everyone. It's understood. Notice that's almost passive. It's understood by everyone. So even though here wakaru is not a passive verb, it feels like a passive when we translate it. So who made the insult? Everyone it's understood by everybody. It can be understood by everybody. Yo ni kaitari. Okay, so it is written in a way that everyone knows whose insult it is. So really quickly, I wanted to put up wakaru to show you that the idea of potential, can tell. Notice how can tell is almost able to. And I wanted to do that for this translation here. So whose insulted it is, everyone is able to know, or everyone can tell, it is able to be known by everyone who wrote the insult, whose insult it is. Yo ni kaitari, dare no warukuchi ka minna ni wakaru yo ni kaitari. So we don't know the subject of the sentence, right? So the verb is kaku, which is to write. Somebody wrote something. X wrote Y. They wrote in a way, this yoni, they wrote in a way, wakaru, they wrote in a way that people understood. Minna ni wakaru yoni kaitari. So it was written, sorry, it's not, it was written, that's passive. The subject wrote the insult or whatever in a way that everyone could tell, that everyone can tell. It could be told by everyone, so to speak. They were written so that everyone could know whose insult it was. So somebody wrote the incident in a way, this yoni, in a way, they wrote the incident in a way that it could be understood by everybody who wrote the insult. And the same subject, whoever wrote these insults in a way that everybody could understand them, the same person who did that, not necessarily the same person, but sorry, the people who wrote these incidents, these insults online that they got a report on, that same subject, the jerks writing insults, wrote lies. Okay, so that's what's happening here. This kono naka no 44 ken is not really the subject that's doing these kakus. Okay, so just be aware that's not what's doing the kakuing. That's just saying the association looked into it, and of these 44 insults, or of these 44 situations, incidents, somebody did things like write in a way that could be understood by everybody who wrote the insults, and those same people did things like write lies. And then the steimasu is just the way we end the tari form. They had done that. They had done that in the past. So by the time they looked into it, they had written it that way, right? So we're reading this article now. The company investigated at this point, and by this point, these things had already been written, right? That's why it's the shiteimashita. That's why it's the past tense. It's the past. Okay? It's had written by the time that they looked into it. Okay? Okay, and notice we talked about this in just a previous video. Japanese time is different. Notice how by the time that the things had been written, they had not yet completed their investigation. Does that make sense? That's why this one's a shiraberu, while this one's a teimashita. So notice the change in verb tense here. Because they had not finished their investigation by the time that they noticed all this stuff, this is shiraberu, whereas the writing had already been done, and that's why it's a teimashita. So at the time that they were investigating, things had already been written, right? So they hadn't quite finished their investigation by the time they noticed all this. Okay, that's really tricky, and I just want to look at that one more time. Some of you might have gotten it right away, but I want to point out just how tricky this grammar can be. Kyokai ga shirabeto, upon them, before they could finish investigating, kono naka no 44 ken wa 44 of the situations, a completely unmentioned subject, dare no warakuchi ka mina ni wakaru you ni kaitari, somebody wrote these incidents in a way that everyone could understand who wrote them, who wrote the insults, whose insults they were, and that same somebody wrote insults, and they had written the insults. Okay, great. Next sentence. Kono tame, for this reasons, kyoukai wo SNS no kaisha naro ni warakuchi o kesu you ni imashita. This is the interesting. Kesu you ni imashita. They told somebody, and we're going to find out who it is, to delete them, to get rid of them, to extinguish them. Kesu can also mean extinguish. What are they going to extinguish? The insults. They told somebody to get rid of the insults. SNS no kaisha nado ni. They told these people to do it. The SNS no kaisha is nado. Nado means and the sort, and things like that. Social media companies. So the association wa told the social media companies and the like, and that's the ni particle is telling you're saying at those people. That's what that ni is doing over here. They told them to do something. Kesu you ni imashita. They told them to extinguish the wataguchis, to get rid of the wataguchis. This is easy. This sentence is easy. I mean, it's literally just the subject says somebody else do something. But the problem is that this you ni imashita, the kesu you ni imashita, that might be a new grammar point for you. Verb you ni you, tell somebody to do something. Who do you tell to do? You tell the ni particle to do something. And here the ni particle is SNS no kaisha nado ni. So social media companies and the sort. They tell those people. What do they tell them? They tell them watakuchi o kesu. They tell them watakuchi o kesu, to get rid of the watakuchis. Okay, that's honestly a pretty simple sentence. Kaisha nado wa? Okay, really quickly, notice how the association that's telling everybody to be nice on the internet is a kyokai, whereas the social media companies are kaishas. Okay, so the social media kaishas nado wa. So the social media companies and the sort wa 14 ken no warakuchi o keshimashita. The very basic sentence, they got rid of the 14 of the incidents, 14 of the 40. 14 of the 44. So I guess there's 30 left. All right, hey, this was really tricky, and I want to point out that actually the most difficult part of this sentence is the fact that, notice these kakus, once again, these kakus are not passive, and thus there's a hidden subject here that is doing the writing, and Japanese doesn't even bother mentioning it. They don't even bother saying it, whereas English speakers are going to say somebody did something and somebody did something else. Okay, anyway, see you next video. Peace out. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you like, subscribe, and share this video to everybody you know and yell at them repeatedly until they subscribe as well. If you'd like to support me even more, head on over to patreon.com where for just $1 a month, 3 cents a day, that's it, it's darn near free, you can help me financially keep these videos coming. And as a reward for your Patreon donations, you get access to all of the miscellaneous things that I produce to help out my own students who I teach in person, and also just things that I make for myself. And if you want a little bit more bang for your buck, head on over to Teespring, where you can get lots of fun clothing, mugs, stickers, cell phone cases, all that I've designed. More designs to come. I hope you have yourself a happy dappy day. Peace out.